Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is the Vaughn SLR 4 glove review. So this is obviously a demo set, and this set specifically came from Just Hockey. I actually used another glove that I tested out previously, and then the review is coming from this demo set. So I have more use than just what's shown in this demo set, but I also have a few skates under the belt with this glove itself. I've also done the review of the blocker and as well as the pads, or if they're not out yet, they will be out. So check the description on here and also check back for the channel for this. Huge thanks to Just Hockey. Without their help, I wouldn't be able to do this. It's greatly appreciated to be able to check these out and take a look at it. One thing to note here, just because of time frames and everything, this glove is basically the same as 70-degree glove that Vaughn has used in the past, and it has this little thing on right here. And I did a whole video of that I think got pretty popular, and I talked a lot about that previously. So I'm not going to go into the extreme details of this one and not do the puck machine testing, because that glove has already been used and I already really talked about it. And really, this glove is just bringing that 70-degree to the SLR 4 line, well, the SLR line, for the first time on the SLR 4. I don't have that old one to go side by side and compare the differences, but we'll talk about the overview of this glove, how it feels, and some options I really think you should get. So first of all, because this is the most important part, and I talked about it on the blocker as well, and it obviously makes or breaks goalie gear, the aesthetics and graphic. And this is a case where I like the graphics on this. I think Vaughn has done a pretty good job of being able to split up the zones and make some interesting looking gear. I made some awesome looking gear when I was about to order a custom set of these, so I think they did a pretty solid job there. But the one pet peeve of mine, and it's really a nitpick, but it is still a pet peeve, just sometimes how companies work with gloves, is that you can never actually make these two gloves line up and actually match each other in terms of holding shape and actual design itself. Because if you put it like this, you can see this is pointing that way, that's pointing that way. If you put it up like this in your stance, if you hold fingers up, it's doing that. That would almost kind of be it, but even then, these sides have to be swapped over, because you can see there's that little arrow, which is down here. And then when you go in blocking, it's exact opposite. So obviously you can't match this graphic one-to-one to all positions. But companies like Warrior recently have done it pretty well, or it matches like this, or other companies have done it where it matches in this position and it matches just some way. This one doesn't quite work like that, but really it doesn't matter. The graphic is still there. You can choose the colors and stuff, and it's fine. And overall, the graphic is pretty good, and that's really just a nitpick of everything. I teamed up with Just Hockey to offer an exclusive discount code on all Vaughn SLR4 gear. So if you go in the comments of this video, get that coupon code, go to their website, buy something Vaughn SLR4 related, and you'll get a specific discount and unique discount from this. I don't get a kickback from this. I just want to do videos on gear and make content on reviews on equipment. This helps me do that. So if you want to show your support to Just Hockey so I can keep doing this, go on there, buy some stuff from them, use that code. It would be greatly appreciated. It would help me and helps them out, and shows that them lending me their gear like this helps them out as well. On to the overview of this glove itself and kind of a quick idea of what this is. Previously on SLR gloves, they had kind of a 45-degree, 55-degree, 75-degree break angle. I say that because it's like that 600 glove family, and everyone has slightly different break angles on it, or at least measurements on it. But it was that style of glove, so think newer version of the 8800 type of style. And it was kind of the same break angle as the Velocities were, and that has changed for this one. So I actually really liked the SLR3 glove. I felt it felt pretty good. I thought it was pretty well padded too for a game ready. It was almost like a Pro Palm stock, at least the ones that I saw were. This is a very big departure from that, and it makes sense because in my opinion, the V10 has that hand shape and everything, and is probably the more popular glove of the two. So differentiating that stock break angle on this is probably a pretty solid move, and they definitely did that here. So this glove is really that kind of XP, which if you click there or see up there, that is the video I did on the previous one when I looked at the V10s. This is kind of that XP idea behind this glove and everything. It's that new option where they have, you can see right here, it has that little 70 right there, and that is their new idea and shape to kind of match a 90-degree that everyone kind of talks about in that 580 shape. And when you close this, you can definitely see that T doing that famous closure and overlap that people talk about and really want. So like I mentioned, this is a big departure, and the base of this is a lot closer to their old 60-degree. Well, they still have that 60 degrees an option with some slight tweaks on it, so you can still see that 60-degree kind of shape on it of what it had before, specifically with like the fingers and everything. The big difference on this one is the pocket and kind of the break angle and just the overall closure of it. Generally speaking, if you have used that old XP glove, and their 60-degree glove, the 590 style. This glove will probably feel kind of familiar to you, and you can see how there's like the binding through the face right here, which is also on that 60-degree break glove. So starting at the cuff, I mentioned you had the bindings on there. It is pretty solid, as you can see, but it isn't the biggest cuff. You can see how it is pretty thin on here, and you can flex it a little bit, but overall it's pretty solid, and I really do not have an issue with it. Same with the thumb. You can see the thumb is pretty solid as well. I have pointed that out recently in some gloves where that hasn't been so good. This one has been pretty good all around for it and feels totally solid. When we get on the palm, they have their kind of shock shield. I don't know if this is still labeled that, but it has that extra padding piece on the outside, and that is on both the finger and the thumb spot right here. We've seen this with other companies as well, but Vaughn has been doing this for a while. I believe they called it their shock shield. Something that is kind of interesting is there's no more bindings going through here. So no longer see that nylon cord going through here. That's a thing that's happening a lot more on gloves recently. So Vaughn hasn't moved kind of back to that. It used to be a thing way back when, disappeared, and now it's kind of coming back a bit. You do have the reinforcement on the finger as well. You can feel the extra material right here on this finger piece, and you can kind of see the finger shape going all through it. And this glove does, when you really open it up, lays pretty flat, as you can see right there, and it doesn't really have any parts that really stick up, which we'll show in a puck test in a second. But this glove honestly feels very similar to Vaughn gloves, just when you put it on and everything. Vaughn has I think a very distinct feel, and this is certainly the case there. So for the tee, this is actually one of the interesting parts I always am going to recommend people to get. This is their 7000 tee option. So you can see it's one big thick single tee. This is not stock. This is a custom option that I'm always going to recommend to people because it is a nice big thick tee, and that closure is fantastic on it and looks really good. It feels nice to catch in right in the middle of that as well. Makes a very loud pop noise. I definitely recommend that as an option. It probably is an extra option in terms of cost, but it's fantastic and it feels great and it's totally worth it. The tees on here, this does feel like it's like a double thick tee, so it has some reinforcements in it. You can see how stiff that piece is when it isn't really going in here to connect, so you can see how this kind of moves, which allows for that overlap, as you can see there. So interesting design here and thicker portion here. You have a little thin piece if any, and you have that double or feels double thick right here as well. And again, that allows that overlap there, and it is pretty solid. And when you open this up, you can see a bit of that kind of folding over, but generally speaking, it's doing a pretty good job of funneling into the pocket, and that's what you expect. And you can see the tee as well. Nothing hard in here, just a soft foam going through here, as you can see, and it flexes pretty good, and you can see it kind of bend when you open and close it, and just solid all around. Going on to the backhand, you have your finger extra protection piece right here, and then just a standard backhand piece with, like the use of Gen Pro on here, so this white doesn't get as dirty. This part's gonna get dirty, but this part will obviously stay a bit cleaner. And you have your connection straps right here. No elastic or anything in here, but I do like how the pinky loop kind of goes through there as an anchor point, which is kind of a nice feature there. And then you have that big backhand piece, and you have your other attachment piece right here. Again, no elastic on here for stretching to allow it to flex like other companies are doing, but when you close that, you can see that's not moving at all. So I don't really think that's necessary whatsoever, because this isn't affecting closure. And if you loosen this, you can see it's not really moving one bit. And the only part that kind of even remotely moves is this, but this is anchored enough that it doesn't get in the way whatsoever. You do have a gap here, but it's not a problem. That just shows how this can move without the elastic. So they didn't necessarily go that way. Other companies are going with the elastic, but the closure definitely shows that it's not needed. One of my favorite things is when companies cut little holes into this, so you have that quick pull strap right here. Vaughn did a great job of actually having a loop as well. So you can pull that tight to really pull that wrist strap, and it goes right through here as well, so it doesn't just sit or stick through something, and you have it on there so you can pull it. Fantastic design, one of the best in the business. Absolutely love this. So great feature and great job for that. And then you have your inner piece right here, and you can see how it's kind of open, but it's not crazy open. And definitely if you're using that bigger chest and you kind of go up there, you're definitely gonna kind of feel that hit your arm, just because it's not crazy open like some other designs are right now. If your hand's over here, it's totally fine. Kind of go up there, you can already see it's touching my arm, and then it will just kind of make that a little bit worse when you are using a massive chest protector like my Warrior one, which I definitely notice. And if you attach this looser as well, it opens up more, so it becomes a bit more. But I'm going to leave it so all the Velcro is on like that, and that's kind of how it works. Totally fine. It just could be more open like some other designs are, but it's not really a massive issue. Just think of that if you do want to do that fingers up. If you do have a massive chest like that warrior, it might be getting in the way a bit. So opening this up, we have that one strap right here. We have this strap right here that comes out there, and it opens up that way. And then you have this strap right here. And we can see the internal strapping and materials. But one thing I want to call out first, which is now visible from this flap, is this piece right here, which is actually your thumb loop. So instead of having these right here for the thumb pieces to pull on, which they did in the past, I think the last XP had that, there's this now Velcro piece right here where you tighten, and you can see the leather they're using right there to tighten that thumb loop, or you loosen it off if you want to. And honestly, it's pretty nice and a great idea and design on here, because it does have that total loop, and you can adjust it this way without actually having to pull those and tie them, and that way it's going to hold in place. I think this is an excellent design and really excited to see this. I haven't seen this done like that from I can't remember one, and it works pretty well, and the thumb definitely can be adjusted pretty easily on there. So pretty solid idea there to get rid of those ties. I have no problems with the ties. I really like them, but this really does allow pretty quick adjustability for that. Going into this backhand again, we have a strap right here for the backhand tight piece. We have the wrist piece, and then we have the finger pieces right here. There is standard finger stalls in here for everything, which I'm a fan of. So you have 1, 2, and then 2 right here, but then that pinky one, which is right here, ends up looping for the pinky. So you really end up having one stall for all, because that kind of acts as that stall. And then you have your kind of neoprene on the inside here, which is really soft to the touch, and it kind of goes over where all your straps are, so there won't be any pressure points or overlaps, because you have that padded area on the back right there, which is solid, and I'm a fan of as well. And then on to the materials. This glove specifically has Sure Grip on it. You can get different options with Vaughn, but this one has that Sure Grip. And I talked about the Sure Grip material kind of over and over again whenever I talk about this stuff. It's comfortable, it's good and wet. I don't think it's the best Sure Grip material on the market. It's not the most 3D textured, but it is solid, and it is a very good material, and it's definitely the material that I would option if I bought these gloves. So I always recommend people to kind of go for that, unless you really like the softness and the smoothness of Nash. But this one works pretty well and is comfortable, and I'm a fan of it. And the backhand here does open up a bit more like this to allow it to breathe, and kind of allows you to see the internals and to really let it air out if you want to in that sense. But while we're here, I want to show something kind of interesting with Vaughn, and that is specifically kind of their brakes. And that is kind of the part that actually closes on the glove itself. So I always thought, and I always feel like Vaughn has a very unique closure on their gloves, and that continues on this one, where you can really feel the basic corners of the glove itself. So when you actually close it, it doesn't really feel like it's totally rounded to me. It feels like it's parts, and you can really feel where those seams are. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's something I just noticed is very unique to Vaughn gloves, and you can definitely tell how the glove closes. So you can see right here, like this flatter spot, and how the 2 parts on the side close. You can really feel this edge right here. So if you really push into this, right where my thumb is, and it might be being covered by this, but you push right into here, you can really feel that edge. And then on the other side, it's basically right on the corner here, you can really feel that edge. Again, this isn't me complaining, this is just me calling it out, how unique that feeling is, because when you close it, like, you can feel that part right there going into your fingers. And then for the thumb, when you close it, you can feel that part kind of going into basically right here, and it is that unique and very Vaughn feeling that I have always noticed on all Vaughn gloves. So again, that continues down that path, and if you like that Vaughn feeling of glove, which some people do, like I said, it's unique and it works for a lot of people, it's definitely on this glove as well. Core Tech, which are Coreshorts, and people have heard of these before, they were labeled under Under Armour before. Now Bauer sells hockey specific one, but Core themselves sell their own line of pants and supportive clothing and apparel. Basically, this stuff helps you with growing strains, growing pulls, and helps keep your hips tight and everything like that. And speaking of injuries, I kind of pulled a growing playing in the playoffs a few months ago, and have had to keep using these Core Tech shorts to make sure my growing doesn't get worse. When I don't wear them, I can feel it, and it hurts kind of to walk the next day. With these, keeps everything nice and tight and keeps everything from stretching out too far and getting injured. So these have been a huge savior for me. Check out the link in the description to their website and use my coupon code that's in there to get a discount, and I'll put it on the screen here. It helps support myself and the channel so I can make content and doing real reviews, but also you get a solid product that I use all the time. Like I've mentioned over and over again, I'm not going into weight because it's not important, and the balance on gloves is more important. In this glove, the balance is very much around here, which is a good thing because it's on the weight of your body and it's not tilted like this. This glove still has a pretty solid cuff, and the weight of it definitely feels like it's kind of right here. and not on your fingers. So when you're holding it out, it doesn't feel like it's weighing you down. You won't get more tired on it. The balance feels exactly where it should be, and you don't notice any of this hanging off or anything. It feels really nice to move, really nice to play with. For closure on this and that whole 580 thing, I showed off the tee, and you can see it definitely has that unique closure that people love from 580s and 90 degrees. Vaughn, as you can see, calls this their 70 degree. And this glove, hopefully that's coming off on camera, and this glove specifically is formed from their 60 degree. And I talked about it, I think, on the V10 XP at the time glove. A lot of this comes from their 60 degree with slight changes to make it feel and close how people want for that unique feeling. And honestly, it closes just how you kind of expect for it. And it does feel like that kind of 580 style. I want to say though, I like this glove more than I like those 580 gloves, because I feel like it's actually like the proper future use of a 580 and a really good kind of newer version of it. I've been someone that hasn't been down the 580 train in terms of saying it's the best thing ever and everyone should use it. I really think there's reasons people went away and companies went away with it for a while. And this glove feels kind of like the evolution of it, where it has a bunch of features on that 60 degree that they move to and change things to, but also having that closure and feeling that people like of that 580. So I really think it's almost like the best of both worlds. And I definitely recommend people checking this one out. And I mentioned that in the previous one, but you can see it and how good the closure is. This is a game ready one, so the palm isn't super padded in here compared to the gloves I normally wear, but the closure on it is solid. You can see how that closes like that. Pretty easy to close, feels really nice, and it definitely does feel like it has that 580 and that 90 degree style that you're used to. Vaughn just calls it the 70 because it's a slight change on their 60 degree, so it makes sense they call it something slightly different. But you can see that tee and how that plays. Fantastic tee option, and really kind of mimics that tee closure that people love. I also found with this glove, my experience is better for catching than with the 580. I just found it to be less like palm heavy, so things would less hit the palm and the thumb and kind of bounce out of it. Things hit the pocket, it's going to close anyways as is. I just found that this one was kind of a nice different change to it and was more usable for me, and I caught more with this than I have with my 580. So was a huge fan of this one, and if I was buying the set, I would definitely opt for this glove specifically with that tee, and I would happily use it. I really enjoy using this glove. I enjoyed using the XP one previously, and this one is some slight changes on it and is a really solid option as well. One of the things with 580s is that they're terrible with covering for pucks. Not so much with this glove. You put it on, and it covers pucks totally fine, picks up pucks totally fine. As you can see, zero issues whatsoever. This is pretty interesting idea behind it and how they manage that. I think it's because of how their 60 degree just sits so flat. You can see how much that opens up, and the tee also kind of flattens out pretty well and pretty solid as well, and it doesn't have like kind of a big gap up there. So when you put force down on it, you can just put it in the middle and it covers the tee and the backhand, and it works well in that regards. So for puck handling on this is a case where I feel like it's not really the break angles that do things and make things harder or easier. It's the closure of the glove and the tee itself. So the closure of this glove is really easy, so it would be easy grip here, but I find the tee, and maybe this is the part where the puck seals so well, kind of gets in the way when you're trying to grip it. So it's hard to get the stick in the actual palm itself because the tee kind of gets onto that shaft and kind of gets in the way a bit. Because when you're trying to close it and you try to close that, the tee kind of gets in the way a bit. So it's harder to get a real good grip around the rest of it. And it's kind of like this, where I try to grip this, and because the tee doesn't allow it to sit in the best spot, it doesn't really hold everything that well. Now, if you manage to break this in a bit more and be able to wrap the fingers, maybe it will grip more. But because this tee, the way it sits, it kind of feels like it's kind of pushing the stick out a bit. So it's not necessarily the best for that. And I've definitely had better experiences with some other gloves. But I have also not been able to use this enough to really get used to it and to kind of figure out exactly how to use it. I tried to do my normal thing of like, I have a 600, that's a huge problem with the tee, but I can just kind of hold it with the heel and it works totally fine. With this, I just haven't been able to manage to get comfortable with it and get used to it enough and really find an angle that works for me. But it's not the end of the world, but it wasn't the best one I've ever used. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So catching on this glove is going to be a total personal preference thing. And you have to figure out if the break angle and everything works for you and how you like it. For me, this isn't my favorite break angle and style of glove. I just have a few that I prefer more. But using this, I really enjoyed it and I catch pretty good with it. Now, the one thing I will say and something I noticed, depending on the shot, if it's too slow, I have found pucks kind of bounce out of the pocket when they're really slow. So this is like a small chip shot down low, guy on a rebound just trying to shovel it. I have seen it recently. I have video footage of it, of hitting the pocket and kind of bouncing outwards. Whereas if it's a really hard shot and the puck kind of goes in the pocket, it almost forces, actually it does, it forces the glove closed and makes a really, really satisfying noise on that. This isn't my preferred one for blocking and for just getting in the butterfly and making saves. It works, and you have to find what break angle works best for you. And while it isn't my ideal and favorite break angle, I mentioned this earlier, but if I was buying this set, I would be getting this glove just because it feels so unique and it feels solid and I like it overall. So hopefully this video was helpful. If it was helpful, remember to reach out to companies on social media, let them know my videos were helpful and helped you make a purchase of their gear. Greatly appreciate it on my end. Hopefully gets me on companies' radars to see that I make useful content and people want to see more of, and hopefully I can do more stuff in the future and do more reviews like this. And make sure you check out the other videos of this line of gear where I review them, all thanks to Just Hockey. So check those out. Links will all be in the description as well. So thank you very much for watching. Remember to like this video. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. I teamed up with Just Hockey to offer an exclusive discount code on all Vaughn SLR4 gear. So if you go in the comments of this video, get that coupon code, go to their website, buy something Vaughn SLR4 related, and you'll get a specific discount and unique discount from this. I don't get a kickback from this. I just want to do videos on gear and make content on reviews on equipment. This helps me do that. So if you want to show your support to Just Hockey so I can keep doing this, go on there, buy some stuff from them, use that code. It would be greatly appreciated. It would help me and helps them out, and shows that them lending me their gear like this helps them out as well. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything hockey related, check out the links in the description to buy me a coffee and Patreon. Everything through any of those links always comes back into the channel so I can keep making more content and doing more reviews. Thank you very much for watching and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.